Welcome to the Nurse on Purpose podcast, where we challenge media stereotypes about nursing and spotlight the incredible and diverse roles nurses play in healthcare. I'm your host, Nello. Every week, I'll be joined by a nurse who is reshaping the narrative. From frontline care to leadership, education, innovation, and beyond. Our aim is to show the world that nursing is so much more than what we see on TV. Together, we'll explore how we can collaborate with media and other stakeholders to create authentic and inspiring portrayals of nurses. Let's begin the conversation and ignite change, one episode at a time. Hey guys, welcome to the very first episode of the Nurse on Purpose podcast. I'm your host, Nello. And wow, it really does feel nice to say that it's our first episode, right? Because I feel like you manifested this, right? Because when I spoke with you the first time, Dr. Farah said, I would love to be your first guest. And I was like, ooh, I already had somebody scheduled. Well, guess what? The person who was supposed to be my first guest ended up having a scheduling conflict and needed to move it to later. And so when the slot opened up, I was like, all right, well, she said it, so she got it. So I am so excited to be sitting with my very vivacious, energetic, inspiring first guest, Dr. Farah Laurent. Farah is a doctorally prepared nurse practitioner who has had quite the inspiring journey in nursing, and she's today a nurse coach. And what she does in her role is that she helps other nurses find their confidence and really just use the power of their skill to land jobs and to progress and transition into those first few years of nursing. So, Farah, you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. And I do believe in manifesting and prayer. So it did happen. And then quick, just wanted to say, I'm not a nurse practitioner, it's doctorally prepared. DMP. Just wanted to throw it out there.
Yes.
I never wanted to be a nurse practitioner, so no NP for me.
Okay, got you. I got you. All right. So Farah and I will be talking about personal branding and networking for nurses and other professionals. Farah, you have done this work for number of years now. And actually the way that we connected was via LinkedIn, which I think if you're not on LinkedIn, what are you doing? Right?
Yes.
You need to be there, especially if you're looking to grow your network of professionals that are of like mind, like vision. You need to be tapping into LinkedIn. But anyway, like I was saying, we connected from me reading one of your posts about coaching that you had posted. And I really was, I think, drawn to your passion for nursing students and for new grads, right? Mm-hmm. And it really came through in your post. And I felt like, I find it refreshing that somebody who's an experienced nurse is looking to reach behind and seeking to feed their young with, all this knowledge. Because a lot of times we hear nurses eat their young, but you're feeding your young, right? Which is incredible. And so we talked, and just talking to her the first time, whoa, I was blown away. I was like, girl, you have got some energy about you. So I'm really glad my audience will get to feel some of that today.
Thank you. Thank you. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm just excited to be here and, talk about all things nursing, personal branding, networking, LinkedIn. And yes, I do have a passion for the new nurses and really supporting them and, the new graduate nurses, because they're the new generation of nurses. And, I wish I had someone like me when I first started out of nursing school as a nurse career coach. So that's really what I'm passionate about. And then, of course, making sure that we welcome them in a positive, healthy work environment, because, as we know, when we're nursing students, sometimes we are a little bit afraid. We're not as confident. We might be dealing with like bullying and things like that. And of course, we do have supportive faculty sometimes, but sometimes the faculty are kind of almost like our worst enemies. Like when I first started, my clinical instructor laughed at me and said, Farah, you're too unorganized. You'll never be an emergency nurse.
Wow.
And I was like, what? And in my head, I was like, who's this lady telling me I can't do something? And I was like, watch me, lady. I'm going to be one of the most badass ER nurses around. And that's what I did. I got hired as a nursing student, started 2 days after graduation.
Wow.
And not only did I get hired in the ER, I didn't even pass my Canadian boards, and I started working in the ER. And that was 20 years ago. So, till this day, they're still doing this to nursing students, telling them, they can't go into certain areas.
Yeah.
So this is what I do today, is help them get into specialty areas that they really want to get into. Yeah. And, it doesn't even have to be in the hospital, whatever they want. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think it's so amazing because your purpose was fueled by affliction, right? The things that you went through didn't bring you down. They didn't make you give up and say, yeah, woe is me. She's a professor. She's right. She has more experience, so she would know better. And sometimes we just have to be willing to break those mindsets, those beliefs that limit us. When people tell us we can't, we prove them wrong. But as we're proving them wrong, we're also proving to ourselves what is really inside of us, what we hold, what we carry, and not letting anyone diminish that light. So I really love that. We know what you're doing now, but talk to us about the journey in nursing altogether. How did you decide that you wanted to be a nurse? And where exactly did that drive and the passion for being an ED specific nurse come from?
Yeah, so I always joke and say, when I was young, I would use up all the Band-Aids. As a little girl, I would take all the Band-Aids, put it all on my dolls, and my parents would be like, where are all the Band-Aids, right? And actually, my 4-year-old does that now with some of her Band-Aids. She wants to be a doctor. But basically, it started with me just loving healthcare and loving that field. I didn't know I wanted to be specifically a nurse until probably high school. And then, as a first-gen immigrant, very proud. My parents worked hard. We immigrated to Canada when I was 9. And English was my second language. I knew I wanted to be a nurse, but, a lot of immigrant families always want their kids to be like doctors, engineers, right?
Engineers. The DLE, we know that.
Yeah, or lawyers. And I was like, nah, I want to be a nurse. Like, I want to make that impact, have more time with the patients.
Yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm. And then I watched this show called Trauma Life in the ER. And I fell in love. I was like, that's the type of nurse I want to be. I want to be all up in the traumas and really help these people in their most vulnerable and hardest times. And I really want to be challenged.
Yeah.
And I love that fast-paced environment and not knowing what to expect next. I think I thrive in that type of environment. Mm-hmm. People are like, how can you take care of gunshots and things like that? I'm like, that's me. Bring them on. Like, I love it. So fast forward, I actually worked at Detroit Receiving Hospital where Trauma Life in the ER was filmed. And I got to work with some of those physicians. So it was like 360. And then, fast forward, I worked in Canada for about 5 years because I really wanted to get a good foundation. And then I pursued my dream of being a travel nurse. So I left Canada. I was like, what city can I go to that's really big? I was like, cool, let me go to New York City. So I pursued travel nursing in New York City. I loved it, worked in many different hospitals. And then fast forward, went into education because I naturally always was taking nursing students. I was a preceptor, coach. And some nurses would roll their eyes like, I don't want the students. I'm like, bring them to me. Like, I love them. And then, I had some hardships along the way with discrimination and a lot of crazy things happened, but that didn't really deter me. It took me 2 years, even after I had my master's degree, to get an educator job. And not only did I get one job, I got two, right? Double blessings, right? Double portion.
Double portion for your trouble.
And the thing is that the initial offer was the full-time 5-day-a-week educator role. And I was like, nah, I can't. I want to do 4 days a week because I want to take this NYU clinical instructor role. So I negotiated that and I got both. Wow. So for all the nurses out there, make sure you negotiate and don't just say, oh no, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Make it happen. Absolutely. So that's kind of what I did. And then fast forward, I had some leadership roles up to the director of education, even associate dean. But along those ways, because of all my advocacy and things like that, I got laid off a few times. And, that just goes to show there's no real job security. A lot of nurses might think like, hey, I got this. I'm in a leadership or education role, or I'm in a union. Like, I'm safe. Think again. You're not necessarily safe. And that's why I'm so glad that I actually started my business in 2021 as a nurse career coach. And then my other agenda is helping other nurses, start their journey into entrepreneurship, or at least start a side hustle.
That is really amazing. It feels like you have gotten through adversity after adversity. You've stepped over the rocks that have been thrown at you instead of wallowing in it, which is awesome. I think if you have a passion, if you have a purpose, you owe it to yourself and your future to go after it, to pursue it.
Yeah.
It seems that throughout the course of your nursing journey, you've really been listening to your inner voice, right?
Yeah.
Knowing what to do, what you have a leaning toward, and knowing that, you may have a passion for the ER, but you also have a passion for traveling, and you also have a passion to teach and to educate and to mentor and to guide nurses. And you've been able to use really each one of those interests and each one of those skills and passions at each season of your life. And I think that's what life is all about. Things are changing and evolving.
Yep.
And, you did what you felt leaning toward in each of those moments. I find that really inspiring because, hey, we don't have to be only one thing. There's so much that we have deposited inside of us, and we need to be free to express all of them, because we only have this life to live, and we have gifts, we have talents, we have a responsibility. Okay. So I think that's really inspiring. And for nurses out there, there's so much available opportunity for you. Nursing is so diverse. You can do a variety of things, right? You don't have to be one thing or the other. And we kind of always want to have our hands in everything, right? It feels like we never stop. What is that about?
Nurses always want to do the most, do everything. And then we're horrible at taking care of ourselves. So I think that's another big thing, is not to forget to take care of yourself. And I think we also get so entrenched in nursing as our world that sometimes we lose focus of like our other passions and like personal lives. So it's very hard to separate the two, I think, when you're a nurse. So I think, we need to work on that a little better, some of us. Yeah. I know I definitely do. Yeah.
Tell you, it's like we have family, we have kids, we have, our hands are full, but it's like, it's not full enough. Give me more. Like, let me torture myself some more. But I love that we're driven, and we have that drive, we have that passion, right? And I think some of that also comes from our background, right? Like, for me, I'm Nigerian, I'm from West Africa. Like you said, the family's like, be a doctor, be a lawyer, so you always have that need to keep striving for more. Not that you're doing it just for them, but eventually you'll see that you're doing it for yourself, and it makes you a better person, right?
Yep, absolutely. Okay. And I think, when you're a mom, kind of like what you're talking about, I think that gives you also like a different drive when you become a parent and a mom, and you're like, oh my gosh, like I have another human that I'm actually in charge of and taking care of. And, if I don't work or I don't provide, there might be an issue here. So I think that gives you another level of motivation and drive. And then, being a role model, you want them to be successful and, kind of role model that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, more is caught than is taught. And I even see that with my little one. She's only 2, but sometimes she looks at me and I feel like she's looking into my soul.
Yeah.
But she'll stare at me. Let's say I'm singing or I'm doing something. And then maybe 10 minutes after, I'm just thinking she's looking and she's not paying attention. She'll start mimicking that thing, or she'll start singing that song. So I'm very mindful when it comes to spending my time with her. I put my phone away, dinner time. I give her that face time. I give her that attention. And when I think about what we're doing as you know, as people, really, and as a mom specifically, I feel like there's a saying in my language that says "iga bozo mozo," meaning, will you be one way and hope to have a child that is another way?
Mm-hmm.
So the implication of that is whatever you are is what you're going to recreate. So, whatever you want to see in your children, you need to be the model for that now, because
Yeah.
you're not going to be a fish or be a lion and give birth to a goat. And you're not going to be, a fish and give birth to a hippo. You bear what you are.
Yeah.
And so when I heard that, I was like, "Woo, this is deep." We're telling our kids, "Don't do this," and you're like, "Well, I'm not better anyway." So.
Yeah, they're definitely watching and paying attention. So, yeah, and that was part of the reason too that I wanted to make sure that I pursued my doctorate degree in nursing, even though, like we said, there's a lot of things going on.
Hmm.
You got kids, you got work, school.
All of
But
it.
I think nurses are just go getters, and we always want to do better and, make an impact. So, uh, I think
Yeah.
we honestly have one of the best professions.
Yes.
And it's
Absolutely.
important to me to always highlight the positives too, like in nursing as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. Now, let's kind of transition, right? Let's talk about our topic for today, which is personal branding and networking.
Hmm.
You're an entrepreneur, you're a nurse coach, you're an author, you guide nurses. And I think that this is an area that is really important for nurses to pay attention to, is their personal brand.
Yeah.
So, how would you define personal branding in the context of nursing? And why do you think that it is important for nurses to have a personal brand?
Yeah. So for me, early on, I didn't really think about personal branding. Actually, never really crossed my mind
Mhm.
until one day I was working in the ER. And I had just had like an evaluation with the new nurse manager, and I didn't agree with that evaluation. And of course, being in true fair fashion, I let them know that I didn't agree.
Mind. Yes.
I didn't agree with it. And of course, I was like, I'm not signing that because I don't agree, right? But anyways, later on, she came up to me and she's like, Fair, you really need to work on your personal brand. I'm like, what is she talking about, right? So fast forward, when I started my business in 2021, I started doing a lot of research about personal branding, business, marketing, all that stuff. And then I realized a personal brand is more than just, kind of like the companies like Nike or Coke.
Yeah.
Uh, it's more about your values, what you
Mhm.
stand for, your traits, and how you're seen or perceived by others. Because you might think you're showing up in a particular way, but
Yeah.
really the way I would say the majority of people perceive you is a
Mhm.
much better kind of guide. So I would say like ask maybe like 10 people who know you, or say
Mhm.
15, and
Mhm.
ask them to describe you in a sentence or a couple words. If
Yeah.
you see a lot of similarities, if it's good things, then great. But if it's not, then it might be something that you need to work on this personal brand, because it's not what you say it is, your personal brand. It's what people think of you and how they feel around you and things
Absolutely.
like that. So like for me, I try to work really intentionally on like how I show up. A lot of people that meet me typically for the first time, whether we're at a conference or we meet,
Mhm.
they typically describe me to be, energetic, positive, funny. Sometimes I could be a little bit too straightforward or bold, but that's just me. and
Okay. That's okay.
and uh and then a little bit unorganized. Like sometimes I am forgetful, so I need to work on that a little bit. And I honestly think that I probably have undiagnosed ADHD.
Oh Lord.
I really do think that, because I think that's probably what attracted me to the emergency department, because
Yeah.
I'm like all over the place.
Yeah.
because I have a short attention span and I like doing different things and I can't sit seated for too long. So yes. So like just be intentional about your personal brand, what your values are, and try to like be in alignment with that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and that's kind of how people will pick up. And
Mm-hmm.
not everybody's going to be for you. Like some people
Mm-hmm.
might not be able to rock with you, I guess you could say. And some people might love you. And then some people are like, ah, oh, please, I don't want to talk to this one. So
Yeah, she's
it's
a little
fine.
too much for me, and that's okay too.
Yes. So you'll definitely find your tribe. And
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of what it is. Like if they trust you, they know you bring value to whatever it is. Like let's say starting this podcast, which I commend you for, because it takes a lot of courage to be out here sharing your knowledge, experience, and being on video. So yeah.
Oh yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, to be honest, yeah, it wasn't my thing. But hey, it is what it is. We do what we're assigned to do, not worrying about what anyone else is doing, and just really staying in your lane.
Yeah.
I think when we talked previously, you had mentioned something about sort of just being vocal about equity and being vocal about treatment in the workplace.
Yeah.
But then you also told me that a small percentage of our promotion or recognition, whatever it is, comes from the grind and the hustle, and the rest of it is our brand, our interpersonal relationships.
Yeah.
So can you just tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So, when I first started out as a nurse, especially in the ER, I was very driven and like focused. Like, when you like put your head down, work, work, work.
Yeah.
And I was all about like getting certifications, advanced
Yeah.
degrees. And I wasn't really like networking, going out to
Mm,
events with my coworkers, but I didn't realize that it was actually hurting me and hurting my professional advancement. And then
mm,
I couldn't understand how some nurses didn't have the degrees or the certain certifications, but they kept getting promoted. I mean, there's a little bit, there's a little more to that.
yeah.
However, there's some research that shows, by this person who wrote a book, Harvey Coleman, says that he had actually like a pie chart, and
Mm,
10% of actually work performance is really what helps you advance. Only 10%.
wow.
90% of that is like 60% is actually visibility, and
Mm,
then 30% is your image. So really it's how people perceive you, which is that personal brand. Do they know you? Do they know what you actually do and the
mm.
value that you bring?
Oh,
And
wow.
how do you show up? Like your image, even just down to how you dress. And are you being visible in terms of like networking, going out to events, or like volunteering for like big projects and things like that?
Mm,
That's how you advance more in your professional career. So for all those early career nurses, sometimes it's not all about just work, work, work. Like you
yeah.
really have to position yourself for success. And
Yeah.
it's all about really, truly who you know, how
Mm,
you network,
mhm.
and how you show up and how people perceive you. That
Absolutely.
is really important. Yeah.
So that's really important. And, being visible, like you said, on platforms like LinkedIn, we had talked about that a little bit earlier, but I want to ask you what are some steps that a nurse can take to identify what their brand is and to establish their own unique professional brand? What are some steps that they can take?
Yeah. So honestly, I guess there's a couple questions you can ask yourself. Number one, you can just ask yourself, like, who am I?
Hmm,
And this might be beyond just being a nurse, right? Like, who am I?
hmm,
Number two, what do I do?
hmm.
So, I'm a nurse career coach. I'm a first gen immigrant. I'm all about empowering nurses to be bold, to go after their dreams.
Yeah.
Um, I'm a mom, whatever those things are. And then
Hmm,
also your traits. Like, what are some of your traits?
hmm,
What are some of your values? And
hmm.
then, really, what is your purpose? And what is your impact? What impact do you want to make?
Make.
And
Yeah.
that kind of, there's a little bit more to that, but I think at the core, that is kind of what your personal brand is. And then you want to make sure that you're, you know, exemplifying this in everything that you do, that you're in alignment with what you say your brand is, your personal brand. Like, are you walking in line with this, your purpose? Is it, doing this, I don't know, this podcast or this interview, is this going to bring me closer to my impact with like trying to influence new nurses? Obviously it is. And your decision making should really be based on this impact. And it's really greater than yourself, right? When you really find your purpose. And sometimes you might not know where your purpose is right away. And that's okay. You just need to do a lot more reflecting. You might need some guidance, like let's say from someone like me, like a nurse career coach, or a mentor. And I say get multiple mentors. I failed to have a lot of mentors when I first started. But I say the best thing you can do is have multiple mentors, and they don't all have to be nurses. They can be, different type of mentors, whether it's like a spiritual mentor, a finance mentor, whatever, business mentor, whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And then actionable steps. Definitely get a LinkedIn account if you don't have a LinkedIn. Because yes, you can be on other social media platforms, but LinkedIn is the most professional platform. It's, used worldwide by professionals, and it's the most trusted platform. People are professional on there. They typically go on there to do business or find jobs. And there's statistics that show actually I believe it's like every 7 seconds, someone gets hired on LinkedIn. And then the more you build up your LinkedIn profile, the higher the chances that people will go on your profile and look and search you up. So like 95% of recruiters are on LinkedIn. They will look you up if you're looking for a job. So like putting a profile photo up that's like forward facing and smiling, writing a post, commenting on other people, or just simply doing an introduction video of who you are and things like that will help you. It actually helped one of my clients. I helped her do an intro video. She's an aspiring L&D nurse. Literally 14 hours after she posted the video, she did a video in the evening. In the morning, she had a recruiter who actually messaged her in her inbox and told her that she should apply for a nurse residency program in L&D at the particular hospital. So you see, like she was shocked. She's like, "Oh my goodness, it works." I'm like, "Yeah, people are watching."
And recruiters are on there because I get so many emails in my inbox, and I'm like, oh, I'm so overwhelmed. But they reach out to you because they see that you're, your branding, your, what you're promoting, your message. They want to identify with that. So if you don't have it, if you're the kind of person who writes a LinkedIn profile and you have grammatical errors, or you have a terrible picture or something like that. No, it doesn't speak well of you, and it doesn't speak well of the profession. So I think that we are walking, living, breathing like brands on our own, personal life, professional lives. And also that's how we met, right? I mean, come on.
Yeah. On LinkedIn. Yeah.
So you post and you interact, and I love the engagement. People are actually just really transparent, vulnerable, and still keep it professional. So it feels like a little bit of a mini tribe for you, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I do really enjoy LinkedIn.
Yeah, it's all about really building community, whether it's in nursing or whatever it is. And you never know what your next connection is going to, be. It could be a mentee, a mentor, a business connection, partnership, whatever that looks like, or a friendship, right? Like a lot of people meet off LinkedIn and they become friends. So definitely don't, I undervalued LinkedIn when I first started using it. I didn't use it to the full capacity. I didn't know how to use it. And I didn't even have a profile photo. And then about 3 years ago, I really made the intention like, hey, I'm going to start using this, especially for the business. And I built my following from 0 followers to about 21,000.
I think you're 22,000 now, girl.
Oh, yeah, close to whatever that.
You're flying high. I'm like, when you told me 3 years, I'm like, whoa, 3 years only.
Right, but it takes a lot of time and effort, right, to create content. And I don't think people realize that. And then also like trying to just build relationships like, on the platform. So like, people like, I know I talked a little bit about her recently. Dr. Danielle McCamey, shout out to her and DMP's The Color. She's really created a space for not only DMP prepared nurses, but other nurses to come together to really increase diversity in nursing. And they're doing a lot of things with like scholarship and helping nurses get published and things like that. So really finding your own tribe, you know, whatever professional organization, and other things, it's really important to network, both online and also offline. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that's really great. What are some mistakes that nurses should avoid when building their personal brand?
So I think the number one thing is just like not being themselves, like not being real. And I'm not saying like you have to go on social media or LinkedIn and like tell all your business. Like you don't have to do that, right? But you do have to be a little bit vulnerable, showing up on video and things like that. It's not easy. But just be real, just be you, because people can see through that fakeness, right? That's like very transparent. So I think building a personal brand, you just got to be true to yourself. And then they need to realize it actually takes a little bit of work too. Like, you have to be intentional about building this personal brand. And the biggest mistake you can make is actually just not being visible.
Yeah.
Like not sharing your thought leadership, not sharing your experiences. Because even if you're a new nurse, you could be a nursing student, but maybe an experience or something happened, or maybe just your journey through nursing school, you sharing it or sharing aspects of it can help other nursing students that might be going through a hard time or whatever it is, right? So don't think like, oh, I'm new, I don't have much to share, or like everybody can benefit from your experiences or, you know, things like that. So I think the biggest thing is people thinking, you know, nobody's going to listen to me, things like that. Like, I think I shared recently, there was somebody that reached out to me. I thought she wanted to do a consultation as a client, you know, and we got on a call together and she was like, you know, I just wanted to say thank you so much for creating the content that you do, because she was saying how it helped her get out of a toxic workplace and things like that. And she literally was crying on the call. And it made me get teary. And I'm like, you never know who's watching, you know, when you're building your brand or, you know, sharing content or like this podcast. Like you never know where this will bring you.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. It gives me a lot of encouragement because, like you said, we're on assignment, right?
Yes.
So there's a reason for everything that we're doing. And we do need to take it seriously and we need to show up. And we need to show up well, right?
Yeah.
We're watching, but more than that, like it gives us personal satisfaction to chase our vision, to chase our goals and our, you know, our purpose. So
yeah, like just back to that, I just wanted to share that quick thing that I talked about Deion Sanders. You know, what stops a lot of people in general from even starting a business or posting on social media or starting a podcast, whatever it is, it's all fear, right? Yeah. Fear of judgment, fear of failure, blah, 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 whatever. And it's like, you can't go through life, you know, feeling like that. Yeah, you will fail and it's okay. But, you know, there's like a quote that says, or somebody said recently that I watched, they're like, you know, you learn nothing from being successful, right? You only learn from failure. So it's okay to fail multiple times and you will fail. But back to Deion Sanders, you know, he was just saying on a podcast recently, they're like, how are you so confident? And, you know, why don't you care about what people think about? And he's like, it's because I'm on assignment. Like God has given me a purpose and I'm on assignment. So I could care less. Like it's bigger than what it is and I'm doing what I'm doing and that's it. So when you really are truly, really rooted in your purpose and entrenched in it, you don't really care because it's bigger than you.
You barely have time to hear it, you know?
I'm on assignment.
You're on assignment. That's right. I love that word, assignment. Okay. Now, Farah, okay, this is exciting because I just found out that you were on the Jennifer Hudson show. That's big. So tell us about that.
Yeah. So, you know, in the beginning of the show, I mentioned that I really believe in manifesting And also, I believe in prayer, right? And also, prayer is part of my business plan. So this is what I had told my mom once. I was like, Mom, I'm going to be on the Jennifer Hudson show. And she just started shaking her head and laughing because she knows, like, when I tell her something's going to happen, it usually happens. Wow. So what happened was in the business, I was like, well, how can I really be more visible in terms of, on TV? Like, what show can I go on? And I always loved Jennifer Hudson. I used to watch her on American Idol and The Voice. I used to love when she threw her shoe on stage. And I was like, I love Jennifer. I want to be on her show. So I went on the website. They had like a couple different things you could apply for. So there was one thing about like women in business or something like that. So I told my story and I submitted it, and I was like, yep, I'm going to be on Jennifer Hudson show. So I submitted it 6 months after. I was driving home from work and I got a phone call and they're like, yeah, this is one of the producers from the Jennifer Hudson show. And I was like, yeah, of course it is. And I was like, how are you? What's up? And I was like, when are you going to fly me out to California to come meet Jennifer?
Are you serious?
Yeah,
like you were so confident that you were going to
started laughing. And she's like, oh my goodness. She's like, we're just screening people from right now. We're just like talking to different people and just getting to know you to see, what we can do. So literally I had a short conversation and then we followed up through email, a couple emails. And then later on, she was like, oh, one of the other producers would like to meet you on FaceTime. Give me a time that we could meet. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, cool. So I gave her the time and then they tricked me. It wasn't a producer. It was actually Jennifer Hudson who actually called me.
Wow.
While I was at home on FaceTime. Wow. Yeah, on FaceTime. And then she was just asking me a bunch of questions. And it was so cool. She was like so down to earth and I was so surprised. Awesome. And then she gave like a gift card to the kids because the kids happened to be home. And I typically don't have the kids on social media, but that was like the first time where obviously they surprised me. And it was funny. One of my friends that I grew up with in Canada was like, she saw the episode and she's like, do you know Jennifer Hudson? Like, are you guys friends? And I was like, yeah, me and Jennifer go way back.
Way back since American Idol.
So that was really how that happened. And even just from that, I had people buy my books.
Wow.
Who watched that episode. There was actually one father who said he bought it for his daughter who just became a nurse or whatever. So it's just showing the power of really just believing in things that can happen, and then just going for it. And awesome. Like I said, power of manifesting. Yeah. So I'm a celebrity. Yeah.
Yes, you are. That you're probably the closest I'm gonna come to Jennifer. I don't know.
So who knows? Maybe she'll invite me back in person. But that was awesome. Such a cool experience. Yeah.
Oh, that's really wonderful. And so, guys, I'm gonna play the clip for you so you can see Farah in action. All right.
Today, I'm calling Farah in Cranford, New Jersey. Farah is an incredible nursing educator and a mom of two.
I was an emergency nurse, even though my clinical instructor told me I would never be an ER nurse. And I was like, watch me, lady. I will do it.
Now you're helping others become a nurse.
Yeah, so that's what I did. I did that. I went to New York City, did travel nursing. I was a level 1 trauma nurse, did all that good stuff. I'm in education now, but I opened up my own business, basically helping other nurses land their dream role and really empowering nurses, women, telling them they could do whatever they want to do. Don't listen to people. And even
I really love what you said about being yourself, because really that's the only person that you can be. If you try to be somebody else, how long are you going to be able to sustain that for? And like you said, they're going to see right through that. And again, I'm not really a media person, which is ironic because my entire goal is to help change the portrayals of nurses in media by collaborating with media networks, media houses, even though I don't feel like I want to be on screen. Like this is for me is like nerve wracking. I just want to be in the background and, just not even show my face. But again, we are on assignment. And assignments are not easy, right?
Yeah.
But they have to be turned in because you need a grade for your class. So you got to do your assignment. And so even when it's hard, even when, you feel out of your element, you just have to push through because there's a purpose for you. There's a reason why you're there.
Yeah.
And eventually you'll get to understand it better. And once you step into it, it becomes, easier and easier. But if you never leap,
Yep.
you will never know how to fly, right?
Yeah, it's truly, it gets easier as you go, and then it just makes you a better person. And really, it's like back to what that Deion Sanders said. It's like you kind of get over yourself because it's not about you anymore.
Yeah.
It's like a calling. It's something that keeps coming back to you, like even if you're trying to avoid it. It's like a voice that keeps coming over and over. Hey, you should be doing this. You should do this. And it's really greater than you because you're showing up for other people because you're trying to make this impact. So like, even for me, if nurses, new nurses don't come to me and work with me, it's okay because I know that my content is helping them. And the reason that I know it's helping them, and even though they don't come and work with me, some of them, is because they tell me.
Awesome.
Like literally I get messages and they're like, thank you so much for, doing this content or this video, whatever. Like it's helped me with so-and-so. I actually had an experienced leader book a call with me, which I never met her. She booked a consultation call with me and I thought she wanted to do something with like career coaching or start a business or whatever. She literally was in tears, crying, and told me that my content helped her leave a toxic workplace. And she was grateful for what I was doing because she said, even though sometimes people don't come out and say, hey, your content helps, they're watching even though they don't say anything. So what you're doing now, like she almost, like I was getting teary listening to her because I'm like, oh my goodness, like you just never know who's watching and who's listening. So this is why, like I said, I commend you for doing this because not a lot of people want to get out there and show their face.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Like you said, stay focused, lock in and don't worry about what anyone else is doing. What they're doing is not your business. What your business is what you're supposed to be doing, right? And people are always watching you and you don't know where that next opportunity is going to come from. So it's important that you show up and you show up in an excellent way. And I think that's so key for nursing and for our personal brand. So let's switch gears now and talk about networking because that's the second half of our conversation. So for me, I consider myself introverted, right? How would you advise someone like me who is an introvert to approach networking in a way that feels comfortable for me?
Okay, so there's two things. And I have a newsletter. I actually dropped a newsletter that talked about the introverted nurse and how the introverted nurse can really succeed in interviewing and stuff like that, right? So for networking, what I would say is you still want to go and do in-person networking. However, I would say try to find networking events that are not as large and big. And you can have more, kind of one-on-one conversations or small group conversations so it's not as overwhelming. However, if you do want to go to a conference that's important to you, just be selective about which conference you go to. Obviously they're costly and you want to make sure that you go to the right conference that can help you in whatever your purpose or impact or whatever you're trying to do or whoever you're trying to network with. So for example, I would say be intentional about who you want to meet at that conference. So a lot of people will post if they're going to a specific conference. You kind of know who might be there. So I would say make a list of particular individuals that you want to at least speak to.
Yeah.
So this happened to me when I was in New York I was receiving a doctoral scholarship for the New York Black Nurses Greater New York chapter. I literally made a mental note of all the people I wanted to go up to, introduce myself, and just say hello. So the keynote speaker was there, and I had admired her for a long time. She was on the board of like the ANPD, which is like the Association of Nursing Professional Development. So I went up to her and I said, hi, my name is, this was before the event started. I went early. So that's one thing. You should go very early so that there's not a lot of people, so you have the opportunity to connect. Yes. So I went up to her, quickly just introduced myself and said, I've been following you on LinkedIn for a while. I just wanted to introduce myself. I like the work that you do, Quick conversation. And it doesn't have to be long. So at least you'll have a plan of like who you speak to. And then the second part, I would say doing things online is a lot easier. So reaching out to someone and getting their email and saying, hey, I would love to connect with you later on a Zoom, maybe after this conference, or connect with them on LinkedIn and say, hey, I would love to do a meet and greet with you on a Zoom call. Or maybe if you don't want to do Zoom, you can simply do a phone call because it's a little less intimidating. So those really are my tips. And then also make sure that networking, because, you know, even I have to work on this, and I think everybody does. You want to make sure that it's not transactional, like it's more building relationship, because a lot of people will reach out to somebody and then their first message will be like, hey, can you help me with da 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 da, or hey, can I, you know, and it's not so much what they can do for you, like find out what you can do for them. And sometimes it's might be something simple, or you can just be honest and say, hey, can I have 10 minutes of your time? I know that you're like a successful speaker. I've done this. Can I just talk to you for 10 minutes? Because I'm a speaker. I want to, you know, learn the tricks of the game. Can you share 10 minutes with me and just give me some pointers? And they did. So yeah, stuff like that. But make sure that you're also giving back to them.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Wow, you're like a wealth of knowledge, girl. You should, so you wrote a book actually, right? But you need to write another book.
I wrote a book. Hold on, you know, self-promote.
Yes. You know, I was gonna bring it up. I was gonna promote you. You know that. I mean, yes.
Nurses making money moves.
I love
A Nurse's Guide to Starting a Business. Yes. And thank you for supporting.
You're very welcome. Yeah, it's my pleasure. So in this book, you'll learn all kinds of strategies, because a lot of nurses sometimes feel like they have to go into only one certain part of nursing when they finish out of school. Yeah. But that's not necessarily true. So you're teaching them, hey, there are several other ways where you can practice in nursing. You can be a public health nurse. You can be a flight nurse. You can be a travel nurse. You can do several other things. You can be a nurse coach. You can be a community health nurse. You don't have to only work in a hospital on the med surg unit, yada, yada. If that's not what, because some people get discouraged. They feel like I'm not really a hospital person. And that was my story. Yeah. I didn't really like the hospital. You know, I liked the children's hospital, but I didn't really like the med surg unit. But I felt like I love nursing, but I don't like this part of it. What do I do? So I think your book will really help people see that there are other ways that you can make money as a nurse, as an entrepreneur. You're still a nurse. It doesn't change. It doesn't change from you.
And I want to also tell nurses, like, you don't have to necessarily like quit your job to be like, oh, I'm going to start a business. And you don't have to have a grand idea either. It's like, you know, like invent something. If you can, great, because we need a lot of innovation in nursing. However, it could be something as simple as like, I read about a nurse did like a day planner, and she was also a graphic designer. Wow. She started doing these day planning things for nurses. She was a former ER nurse, shout out to the ER nurse. And she's now a millionaire.
Oh,
and all she does is day planners. Like, you don't have to have some brilliant, crazy idea. Yeah.
I love it so much. This is why I say follow your passion. Follow the thing that is on your heart. Do not feel like, oh, well, it's such a stupid idea. Like whoever is going to, there are some people who are doing some stuff that I'm looking at on YouTube. Like, dude, all you do is like, and you're making all this money. I'm like, what is going on?
This is what I'm saying. Listen, okay. I love talking about business and entrepreneurship for nurses. Like, literally, nurses have some of like the most education, the most degrees, right? Like, yes, we go to school, get bachelors, some of us have multiple masters, doctorates. We have a lot of like intellectual knowledge, right? Yeah. So that's all intellectual property that you can monetize off of, right? Yeah. You can literally tutor other nursing students. You could be a consultant, but you need to get paid and ask for this money, because nurses don't like to talk about money. I don't know what it is. I think it's like what we're ingrained. We're like, oh, we take care of people. Yeah. Or like, oh, it's a humble profession. Yeah. I'm like, we got to get paid. We got to like feed the family here, and it's okay to want to make more.
Yes.
It's fine. Nurses making money moves, making business moves. Let's go.
Yes, that's right. Okay, yeah, I'm going to post in the show notes. I'm going to have all the links to Farah's socials and her book so that you can go and support her. And really, you're supporting yourself, because if you invest a slice of, just a little slice of your finances, you can potentially make so much more. So,
oh my God. Okay, wait, I got to talk about this. Sorry. Investing. Okay.
Go ahead.
Nurses, right? Like, we'll go and spend $40,000 or $60,000 or $100,000 on a doctorate degree or whatever master's degree, right? But if there's a course, let's say that's $1,000, $2,000, $5,000, a lot of nurses are hesitant to pay for that and invest in their professional development or whatever it is, because they're like, oh, that's too much. But you want to go pay $100,000 for an actual course. So like, nurses need to understand that education and investing in yourself sometimes is not just the traditional academia way. Like, be open to other ways of investing in yourself. Like, even getting a suit for an interview. Like, people are like, oh, I don't want to pay that much money. Please do not wear black, gray, or navy blue to your next interview. Like, go and invest the money, whether it's a suit or a nice dress or blazer, whatever it is, because you need to stand out. And that's another thing about image and personal branding. You need to make that investment. Or whether it's like investing in a photographer to take some nice photos of yourself, put it on social. Yes. Like, come on.
Yes.
Okay, absolutely. Let's go.
This is a passion of mine too. Like, nothing irks me more than when I see a nurse's profile and like, even the way that they're grammatically incorrect. And I'm like, no, write this better. Don't use a lowercase to write your name. Like, that's a proper noun, even those little things. But I think I'm also like that in my real life. I correct my husband's cards. He'll write me a card and I'm sitting there with a pen. So he kind of knows now, like, whenever he gets me a card, he's like, there's no errors. I promise there's no typos. Because I will sit there and I'm like, oh, this is so sweet.
That's funny.
But I'll be like, but you spelled this wrong. Come correct me.
You are too much. Oh my goodness.
I really love the detail of making sure that what you write, if I'm coming, like, the people that work with me, they know. They're like, "Oh, you better not spell that wrong." Or
but it's true, because it's part of. It's like a representation, right? Even though it could be a little mistake, but right, like it can leave a bad impression, right?
Yeah,
so,
yeah. So I think that's all awesome. Making sure that you're standing out, you're excellent. Okay, so I think I'm going to switch gears now from from, personal branding and networking and just talking about nursing in the media, right? Because of course, this is a show that really wants to focus on, first of all, we want to highlight nurses and the wonderful things that they're doing.
Yeah.
We also want to talk about the portrayals of nurses in the media. How can we transform that? What kind of steps can we take? And things like that. So let me ask you, what is your take on the way nurses are portrayed in the media? In shows, TV shows, movies.
Ooh, this could be like a whole show in itself. Okay, I'll try to give you the quick points.
Just a quick one.
Number one, I think the media, globally, sometimes paints a negative picture of nurses. And I think sometimes it's not just the media. Sometimes it's some of the nurses in our profession who highlight only the negative aspects of nursing. And that, the news likes to highlight a little bit more negativity. Yes, sometimes they like to highlight, really good stories and stuff like that. But, negativity usually makes the news, right? So I think that's one thing, is that nursing needs to be seen in a more positive light in the media. And then traditionally, the nurses, I think, are seen as, right, a woman dominated profession, which needs to change because there's more men in nursing. We need to have more diversity in nursing, which needs to be reflected also in the media, because simple examples like, when I first moved to New York, I was shocked. I was a travel nurse, like I mentioned, and I went to a particular hospital, and it was like my first day. I was documenting on the computer, and then this nurse was super rude. She turns over to me and she's like, "Can you take my patient to X-ray or CAT scan or whatever it was?" And I was like, I know she's not talking to me. So I continued to type, and then she's like, "Can you take my patient to CAT scan?" I was like, I don't know who you're talking to, but I said, "I'm not taking your patient to CAT scan." I said, "I got my own charting to do right here." And then the clerk, the person at the desk was like, "She's not a patient care tech. She is a registered nurse." And this was in the ER. And for some reason, I think some of them thought everybody thought I spoke Spanish and I was Hispanic. So again, that's another stereotype. But for some reason, she looked at me and didn't think that I could be a nurse. She looked at me and saw, and she was like, "You're a PCT." So it's like, there's diverse nurses. There's diverse physicians. There are physicians who are diverse, who are women, who are badass doctors, right? So it's like, that perception needs to change.
Yes.
That's a big one. And then also, I think we just, as nurses, it's our duty to educate the public about the variety of roles that nurses do. Kind of like what you're talking about. Nurses work in the government, health policy. They work for United Nations.
Yes.
They work on cruise ships.
Yes.
They work at NASA. I just recently heard Dr. Ernest Grant, who is the former president of the ANA, was talking about that in the movie Everybody's Work, which I actually got the extreme honor of going to watch it in person, which highlights, structural racism in nursing and healthcare, which is another big topic. But like, those things are true. But we need to really change it for the public to realize what nurses do, and also to attract more people into our profession, because it is such a great profession. I think that's the biggest thing I would want to see. And I want to see more nurses in the media, like you're saying, people like Alice Benjamin, which I had the pleasure to meet online, and she came on my podcast and stuff. And she's doing a lot with nurses in the media, and she's all over the news, educating and things like that. So that's true. So that's that's kind of my take on that. I think we just need to be on there advocating more, and also educating,
Yeah.
and attracting more people to nursing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that we already do these things, but we are so like inward facing. We need to spread our wings a little more so that people see what we do publicly,
Yeah.
right? Talk more about it, just like using this podcast as a medium to
Yep.
tell the public, hey, this is a nurse and she's a coach. This is a nurse and she's, in the media. This is a nurse and she's in Congress, whatever. This is kind of the way that I want to promote our image and amplify our voices.
Yep.
So there is one question that I'm going to ask you, and you're going to have some fun with this.
Okay.
So I have I have this little, what do you call this, jar?
Yep.
And in this jar, there are little pieces of paper, which I've written out different genres of movie, whether it's sci-fi, romance, or whatever. I'm going to shake it and pick one from it. And when I read it out, I want you to sort of give me a script, or even not a script, but just tell me, how would you like the nurse on this series or this drama or whatever the category I pick out of here to be represented.
Okay.
You need time? Are you
No,
good?
no, I'm good. I'm gonna make it up. Let's go.
You're ready for everything. All right, so let's go. I'm shaking it. No cheating here. Okay, let's see. And your category is, are you ready?
Yep.
Comedy.
Okay, awesome. So I would say we would have a nurse, let's say Melanie, I don't know, Nurse Melanie. And she actually works, I'm going to say she works in the ER, but she works per diem in the ER. And she also is a stand-up comedian. And she goes on tours and travels worldwide to do her stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
And she's also a nurse who likes to sing.
Love it.
So she also does stand-up comedy and she sings. And then she has her own business where she has a hair salon.
Okay.
And you need more?
Yeah, I mean, tell me what she's like in the hospital. Describe her to me. So we see all these nurses who hold clipboards and follow their doctor around, or say, "Get me the doctor."
No. This one, she's fierce.
Hell yeah! Talk about it.
She's confident.
Talk about it.
She's a leader in the emergency department. She is. She works as a nurse manager. She has fun with all her staff. She creates a really good environment when she's there. She makes all her patients laugh. Like she literally does rounds and talks to all the patients. Because as you know, laughter is the best medicine, right?
That's right. Okay, I love it.
And nobody's gonna mess with her because she will take you to the clean utility and tell you what she thinks. Because you are not going to disrespect her. And she always advocates. And she just has fun.
Yeah.
Yep. That would be it.
As the butt of her joke in one of her comedy specials, if you mess with her too. So awesome. I think that was great. Okay. We are winding down to the end of this episode. But Farah, we talked about your book. We talked about your podcast. We have talked about what you do as a nurse career coach. What is one thing that nurses can expect of you when they reach out to you to say, hey, I need coaching? First of all, what do they actually reach out to you for coaching for? And then what can they expect to get from you? Is there like an end date to the coaching sessions? How does it all work as a nurse coach?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So most of the time they will reach out to me through LinkedIn or sometimes by email or through my website, but typically it's a message through LinkedIn. We usually do a consultation call, and yes, there is a fee for the consultation call. Don't get it twisted, because Rachel Rogers told me to start charging for my consultations because I was having way too many and people wasting time. So the people that I do work with typically are nurses in metropolitan areas, like bigger cities like New York City, places in California, or places in Canada like Toronto, Vancouver, because these nurses typically are not afraid to invest in themselves and in their professional development. So please do not contact me if you're trying to waste my time or your time, because I only deal with serious nurses who want to take action, and nurses who want to put in the work, that'll show up on LinkedIn, connect with recruiters, things like that. Because really, yes, I help with like career coaching in terms of like helping with resume, cover letters, and things like that, interview skills. But it goes beyond that, because we really focus on a really job strategy that just goes beyond just the application. We really look at personal branding, how to dress, mindset, how to even negotiate your salary. So it's really a transformation, and they all come out of there being more confident, having a higher self-esteem, and just really taking action and going for like really what it is that they want. And most of these nurses that I work with are making $100,000 or more. They get offers of at least 100K, 110. One nurse made up to 145K as a new nurse. This is a brand new nurse. Wow. So we are not playing, right? It's all about results. So literally, we just get on a consultation call. We meet, talk about the challenges and how we can potentially work together. And I don't work with all nurses. Even though I like money, I'd like to take your money, but I don't take everybody's money, because I only deal with, like I said, the ones that are in alignment with my values and are serious about taking action. And then if we decide to work together, we literally just do a series of like Zoom calls, and then we practice, and we work early. So we don't wait until the actual interview is like tomorrow and then we do it. Mm-hmm. Nurses come to me early, so I would highly recommend senior nursing students, because a lot of them are graduating this month or in the next few weeks. So you can still get an offer as a nursing student. A lot of people think they have to pass their NCLEX before they start applying. Mm-hmm. You don't. Yeah. And then residency programs, a lot of them are opening up. So I help them with that whole application process. Mm-hmm. But they just need to know that please don't, even if you don't work with me, like don't settle just for any job, because that is the foundation. Your first job will set the foundation of your career. So make sure you go into your specialty area that you want, whether it's in the hospital or out of the hospital, and that you get a supportive environment that's going to have a good onboarding and orientation, and that's going to be supportive, and that you have a good leadership team, not, toxic leaders that are going to drive you nuts and then you're going to want to quit your job.
Yeah. Oh boy.
So that's really pretty much it. And then, like I said, it's like a transformation. And then nurse leaders, I also work with nurse leaders who are wanting to get into higher leadership positions. Okay. So that's another aspect. And then I've worked with over 100 nurses to land their dream job in these last 3 years. And then any aspiring nurse entrepreneurs who want to start a side hustle, they can also just contact me through LinkedIn. So yeah.
That's great. That's awesome.
Thank you.
You're doing so much and you're doing it all well. And that's so impressive. I feel so inspired. I feel like you put your mind to something and you get it done. And that's a quality that I truly admire about you.
Thank you. I do. And wait, one more thing. Follow me on the Nursing Dose with Farah on Spotify.
My next question.
And YouTube. and coming soon. Yeah. I don't want to announce too much, but I will be collaborating with a specific university early next year, where I will have an actual 10-week course available that I'll be teaching, connected with this particular university. So look out for that. That's really exciting news. Yes. And it will be about nurse entrepreneurship. Yeah.
Awesome. So everyone, y'all, you better get yourself a nurse career coach like Dr. Farah. I mean,
Thank
I'm
you.
blown away. I think that if I was starting my journey in nursing, brand new, this would be something that would be life changing for me, because as somebody who I consider myself, again, introverted, breaking out of that shell, negotiating is tough. You just sort of have that humble attitude. Oh, let's not, but
Yeah.
again, it's that nurturing, motherly, whatever, gentle nature about us that, we don't really want to get into the fight. We're just like content. And so sometimes you do need to speak up, and career coach, Dr. Farah, will definitely help you kickstart that.
Thank you.
So I was going to ask you, where can we find you? But you already jumped
Just
the
Google me.
Just
And
Google
LinkedIn.
her and you find her.
Yes.
So I do appreciate you being here. My last question to you is, who would you recommend to come on this podcast next?
Ooh, that's a good one. Well, I'm going to definitely give it to somebody that I admire. And like I said, I've had on my podcast twice, I would say, and I shouted her out already, would be
Okay.
Dr. Danielle McCamey.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
from
going to take
DMPs.
some
Yeah.
notes. Dr.
Yeah.
Danielle. Okay, perfect. So
And tell her I sent you.
I will. I sure will. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate you. Guys, thank you so much again for tuning in. I hope you guys have gotten so much value out of this conversation, just like I have. And we will see you in our next episode. Once again, I'm Nello, your nurse on purpose. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for hanging with me till the end. I hope you gained some valuable insight into the world of nursing. If today's episode inspired you, please like, subscribe, and share with someone who needs to hear about the amazing work nurses are doing. Let's keep breaking stereotypes and reshaping the narrative together. I'll see you next time.